We are very pleased to be joined by former Battalion Captain Barclay Goodrow. We're going to start off on the transition from Brampton to North Bay and the magical season that resulted all the way to the OHL final. First off, let's get your impressions of moving from Brampton to North Bay to really start another solid time of OHL hockey in North Bay.
Yeah, it was, going into it, I think most of us didn't really know what to expect out of North Bay. I think my initial thoughts were that it's, crazy far north. I didn't know that it was actually only, 3 hours north of Toronto. I thought it was way up there, but I think we did a trip up there in the summer before the season started, maybe around like mini camp time or around that time, and you get appreciation for how nice of a town it is. How even from that point the people seemed pretty excited that the team hockey was kind of returning to North Bay, and it kind of gave off a lot of excitement. And I think as players we were pretty excited to move there and get the season started.
Now that season produced lifetime memories for fans and of course the players themselves. How magical was that regular season into the playoffs and then all the way to the OHL final?
It was great. It was. I think I actually saw an old interview the other day where I think we played our first home game after 9 games on the road, maybe just start the season while the rink was being just finished. Getting finished with all the renovations and stuff. But it was a fun season. I think we went into it knowing we had a decent team, but not really knowing how much damage we could do. And then we kind of, I think we were the 2 seed in the Eastern Conference. We win our division, or we came second. I think we won the division.
I think second. We're going to check up on that.
Yeah, I think we were second in the conference, but going into playoffs, remember we were down 3-1 to Niagara in the first round, and we're able to find a way to come back from that and win that series. And then we had Barrie the next series, and I think we were up 2-0, and then they came back and tied it 2-2, and then we won the next 2 games to win 4-2. And then we had a big matchup against Oshawa. I think everyone had us not faring too well against them. They had a lot of good players, a lot of pretty deep lineup who they had a really good season and playoffs up until that point. But we ended up winning the first game, which was huge for us, and then kind of just riding that throughout the rest of the series. Ended up sweeping them, and next thing you know, we find ourselves in the OHL final. So it was a pretty cool journey. Especially being the first year of hockey back in North Bay. I think it gave the people, kind of made up for lost time. I think everyone was pretty excited, and we're able to hop right back on the bandwagon and be able to cheer for a team. So it was pretty cool.
The other day we spoke to goaltender Jake Smith, and he brought us to a time where it was against the Ice Dogs in the first round, and Matt Macleod, an overager himself, stepped up and had this speech in the locker room to really rally the troops, and he didn't want that to be his final game in the OHL. Do you remember that locker room speech that Mr. Smith was referring to?
A little bit. I kind of remember it happening. I don't really recall what was said or whatnot. But yeah, I remember he didn't want to lose to Niagara. He's from Niagara. He didn't want his last OHL games to be lost in a series which we knew we should win. So I think out of all the guys on the team, he was probably most satisfied when we came back and won that series.
And breaking into the NHL, what has that experience been like, really skating with the big boys at the biggest show on earth for hockey?
It's been great. It's been a pretty wild journey. First 6.5 years or 5.5 years pro with San Jose, and then most recently being traded to Tampa. So going through the whole trade experience, which was a new thing for me. I've always been on the same team for my whole career, so it was pretty whirlwind of an experience. But I'm lucky enough to find my way on a really good team here in Tampa, and definitely a first class organization.
Fellow NHLers Mike Amadio and Nick Paul, are you staying in touch with your former Battalion teammates?
Not so much. I actually was playing Fortnite a little bit with Nick Paul the other day, so that was the first time I'd talked to him in a while. But it's fun playing against those guys. You see them on the ice taking face-offs against each other, so it's fun. When you mix it up on the ice a little bit, and it's good to see them having a lot of success.